Whew. It's amazing how your mind can generate fear when you're in a warm, safe home. Nothing is going on, there's no animal attacking you. You are not on the brink of collapse or despair or financial ruin or anything. You're not sick. And yet, you can be sitting there thinking about a future outcome and you can start trembling with fear. And I experienced that today, just now actually, which inspired me to want to make a video about it. Sorry, there's somebody driving their car down the road loud, revving the engine. And so what was happening was I was watching a Martha Beck podcast. As you can tell, I'm going through, that guy in his car, so loud. I don't know if you can hear it. I do have the background noise remover on. So I was listening to a Martha Beck podcast. As you can tell, I'm going through a Martha Beck phase. That's how I do. I go through phases with authors or speakers or whatever. And usually they'll do a circuit of podcast interviews and then you can find them on various podcasts. Anyway, so I'm doing my Martha Beck thing. And I was lying there thinking about the potential, well, not the potential, the reality of moving out. So for those of you who are new here, I'm going through a breakup and my son and I have to move out soon at some point. And my ex-partner, whose house we are living in, has kind of given us a deadline. And I think that that is why I'm starting to feel the fear. He sort of put a date, like by this time, you guys must be out. And it's his right to do so, I guess. It is his house, but it's kind of left me feeling very fearful. So anyway, I was lying there thinking about the actual act of moving out and thinking how I'm going to orchestrate all of this on my own. How do I actually physically pack up and move on my own? Do I just get a moving company in? Do they actually physically pack up? Are they going to be swarming the house? You know, it's overwhelming. And then I thought about the unpacking and then the maintaining of a home on my own and carrying the load. And I was just lying in bed and I felt my heart start to race and pound and the fear coming and how your brain wants to sort of spiral. And then it sort of thinks, maybe you shouldn't move out. And you start to doubt yourself and question yourself. And then I thought, what if I could reframe this fear? Because fear can also push us in a positive direction, meaning, you know, when life is very humdrum, it's predictable, it's the same old, you start to feel very bleh. And fear gives us that little jolt of like awake. We're plugged in, we're here, we are nervous. And I thought about reframing fear like, you know, the joy rides or the fun fair, the carnival rides. How many of us far prefer the exciting, the roller coaster ride more than the spinning teacup, you know? Actually, those spinning teacups can be a bit scary too. But okay, let's say if you're at a water park, you get the lazy ones that just float down the river, but then you get the extreme water rides or slides, and more people seem to line up for those, depending on your tolerance for fear. But I thought, who wants to just be going on a very boring ride? Generally, we sign up for the exciting theme park rides, the ones that toss us about and spin us about. And humans actually, we like fear. How many of us like to go and sit and watch scary movies? How many of us enjoy watching thrillers and psychological thrillers and murder mysteries and, like I say, all the scary movies and the Stephen Kings? And so fear is not necessarily something to avoid or to be afraid of. We're afraid of fear. But when we are in our safe, warm, comfortable bed or home, okay, now this is not technically my home anymore. Maybe that's why I'm also starting to feel panicked. There's a deadline now, but I'm still okay in this moment. I am okay. In this moment, there is nothing to fear right now. In this moment, the sun is out, everyone's calm, the dogs are safe and happy, my belly is full, my son is doing his homework downstairs, he's happy. So, yes, there is a lot of fear, but it's psychological, future projected fear that I'm feeling. It's fear about a day that hasn't come yet. And what I need to remember is on the day that I need to face these things, I will face them one step at a time, one moment at a time, one decision at a time, one box of packing and unpacking at a time, one phone call for help at a time. And again, the thought of all of it does overwhelm me. I'm not going to lie. I do get overwhelmed. But it's also exciting because on the other end of all of that starts a new life. And again, that is terrifying. I'm not going to lie. I am terrified. I'm terrified. Where I am right now is so comfortable. I could just stay and it wouldn't be bad, and it wouldn't be bad at all. But it's not right. My integrity would suffer because I can see the chinks in the armor of the relationship. And so staying would be not the right decision. So I would be untrue to me and to him if I stayed. And that is why I know I must go, even though I am terrified. And I'm not going to lie. Like I say, I am inside, I'm shaking. And sometimes if I really think about it, I get the chills. You know, it feels like I'm being tossed out into a sea of aloneness again. But that is also, like Martha Beck said in this interview, when you let go of everything and everything that you know and the familiar is gone, you are left with this empty space, this spaciousness. And what can come in is God. And I get the chills. God can come into the spaces. And not a religious God, unless that's what you believe. God, by my definition, is the stuff that everything is made of. And I don't have the words to describe what I feel about God. I would say I'm like an atheist, Buddhist, spiritualist mix. I don't like agnostic. I don't know. Buddhist leanings, spiritual leanings, kind of Christian. I don't know. But I know that there is something. And I cannot put it into words. There is something, but there is so little I know that it's very hard to speak of. But when you resonate with things, which I have all my life, there is an inner knowing, and I need to remember to trust that at the age of 46, with all of this turmoil that I've been through this year, and I'll catch those of you up who have just joined me. My ex-husband was shot and killed. My dog had spinal surgery and I had to rehabilitate him to walk. And my current relationship fell apart. What else happened? Those are the three big ones. This year has rocked me, shaken me. I still feel very raw. And 2 days ago, I was sobbing with grief over my ex-husband's passing. And this morning, it's when I meditate. This morning, again, I was sitting, trying to meditate. I was meditating. I wasn't trying. I was meditating. And the grief just came up and out of my eyes, and I started to cry again. And so what I did was I sat and I wrote a letter to my ex-husband. I have touched upon this. He was a troubled soul, which led him to be difficult to live with. I need to find a way to speak my truth about that relationship without harming those who loved him. But my experience of him, so maybe this is the way to say it, is in our relationship and the way I experienced him, he was emotionally abusive towards me. Now, I cannot categorically say that that is the label that he was and is, but he would display these things to me, not all day, every day, but at times. it got worse with the drinking. He was also definitely an alcoholic, and that I think I can say with a clear conscience, most people in his life would agree with me, and he has debated or been told by people in his life to go get help for that. So I think that is safe enough to say is that, yeah, I was in a marriage or a relationship with somebody who drank very heavily and was therefore at the mercy of the abusive cycles that would come with that heavy drinking and maybe with his nature. The sad thing is, I will never know what his nature would have been like without the alcohol, because he was so attached to his addiction, or his addiction had a hold of him so strongly that I only knew him to not drink, I think, for a month, not even. Or did he even? Maybe a month at a time. I think the longest he ever went was a couple of days in a week without alcohol, in my experience of him. And yet, he is a man that I loved deeply and truly. And I can say that now that he has passed. When I had left him and when I had to drop my son and fetch my son, I had to put up walls and boundaries and defenses, because it was so painful to leave for the second time. We tried again to make it work. I had to just shut off everything and only focus on the negatives and continuously remind myself why I left, because those charismatic, charming personalities can draw you back in very quickly. And the truth is, they are also warm, charming, charismatic, loving, generous, and kind. But they are also mean and cutting and dismissive and can press your buttons and degrade you and hurt you and make you feel guilty. And both things are true at the same time. And I know that he was all of it. He wasn't just the negative and the mean and the critical. He was also very warm and loving and generous. And now that he has passed, I can start to see the whole picture. And I'm very aware, because I know his history, I know his parents, not too well, but I know enough, that his circumstances created this troubled soul. I know that. So I can't say it's his fault. But it's an explanation, but it's also not an excuse. To treat somebody the way I was treated is not right. It's not right. For me to love someone like that has left scars, has left deep scars that I'm still trying to heal in psychology sessions. I should have gone for more. I should have actually gone for proper counseling and psychology sessions after I left in 2018. I didn't. I don't know why. Money, time. I was too PTSD'd. I don't know. But I'm going now, and I'm spending right now at this exact moment in time, seeing as this year has just handed me a whole shit sandwich. I am spending a lot of time journaling, thinking, processing, going through my emotions. Like I said this morning, I wrote him a letter. And it's actually hard to admit that I loved someone who so badly hurt me. And he did. He hurt me badly, emotionally, psychologically. And yet the love I felt was real and true. I had to shut it down, like I said, and I had to take my son away from that situation. It was a very toxic environment and relationship. So I wrote him a letter, but it's also very painful to lose the other parent of your child and now to feel alone in raising a child. Like, yes, my ex-partner would have been there had we stayed together and helped me raise my child, but he's not the DNA, he's not the father, you know what I mean? So to lose that that actual figure that I would have shown photos to and shown, and we would have shared this creation and grown it up together, even though I did the lion's share of the work. It's painful. And it is knocking me sideways how painful it is. And I've shared before on this channel that losing my father was nowhere near as cuttingly painful. And it does. It makes me wonder why. My own father, I didn't feel as cut. This has ripped me open. Maybe it's because I see the huge loss for my child, but it's a loss for me that confuses me. And it's hard to grieve somebody who I know now was so wrong for me and bad for me, actually, but who, when I loved him with all the innocence and the heartfelt openness of somebody who didn't know she was in a bad relationship. Because these people abuse can be subtle, covert, and it can come in the form of subtle things like a little guilt trip, a little dig, jokes that are not funny, things that you wouldn't pick up and that other people would say, but sure, you guys are wonderful together and look what he does for you, and he's so supportive and he buys you things and he's, does everything, he's providing for you. And all those things were true. And the constant cutting me down. And when it's subtle like that, it does a number. It does a number on your head. And yet I still think he didn't mean it from a malicious place at all. It was all he knew. It was all he knew from his childhood and growing up. He was so toughened up by his hyper toxic masculine father that I don't think he could have been any other way. For him, love and trust and kindness and softness were despicable, negative traits that you must go ugh about. So every time I would come and bring this soft, loving energy, I could feel he wanted it, and then I could feel that he had to reject it. It was programmed in him to push it away. And so with the time and the distance of healing in my mind now that he is gone, I see the whole picture, and it's a journey. And how did I get onto all of this? From wanting to start off speaking about how you can feel fear just sitting alone in a room. You can talk to someone just sitting alone in a room. You can speak to them in your mind, in your heart. So it's amazing how we can do so much healing of a relationship just inside of ourselves. And I know that the journey has just begun. But yeah, I'm human. I wish I could feel more peace all the time. But I think being aware of how the fear starts in your body, that's step one. So I just wanted to share that with you. Be as open and honest as I can. And that's my sharing for today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.